but I once sat where you do. But when I sat here, when we came here in 1945, this didn't exist. And I guess we met as a group in Clinton Hall. The school was smaller then. It wasn't anything like this, but I sat in the same place you do as a young man coming to Blair Academy, and now young women that are here. Pretty nice. And I'm here today for just a couple of things. One is the opportunity to talk to you and tell you a little bit about history. With Chan's lovely introduction, I certainly don't need to blabber, brag, whatever you want to say about my career. It's been what it's been, and it's been very, very wonderful. I feel like I've tried to make the world what we all do and try to do, and leave the world a little bit better. And we touch in life a little bit better than when we first touched it. As Chan said, this hall honors my mother's parents, and that's a whole story in itself. Because as a child of the Depression, we lived with our grandparents, who were known as Chick and Skipper, and for 2 or 3 years during the Depression years. So I think they would be just delighted as I am to be basically with you in spirit today. The sheer joy that gives me as the fog lifts on this strange day, seeing you wonderful young souls, is what this community of learning is actually all about here, and has been for 164 years one way or another, since 1848. And I want to tell you just a little bit about that history, if I may, this morning, with a few personal notes interspersed. I'm going to keep this short for Bogle. I tend to rattle on. But in any event, I guess I'd start by saying, what on earth you must be asking yourselves, and maybe those sitting next to you, can an aging alumnus like me, proud member of the class of 1947, tell you that would help you appreciate even more your years at my beloved Blair Academy, atop these glorious hills on this promising day. This morning I'd like to remind you not only of how much Blair has changed, but of even more importance, how much endures. Change is the easy part. Just contrast today, Blair, with the Blair that my late twin brother and I, David, saw as we began our journey here all those years ago, driving up the hill. Tradition still gives me a lot of nostalgia and a few tingles, driving up the hill of this lovely campus in the fall, following my older brother, William, class of 1945. We all benefited from scholarships and jobs, mostly as waiters. You got that right, Mr. Headmaster. I've been a waiter for so long, I wondered if I was capable of doing anything else. But on the other hand, I was a waiter so many times, it occurred to me in later years that I must have been damn good at it. But in any event, it may help you understand the breaks that Blair gave the Bogle boys. It may help you understand what we've done our very best to repay that awesome debt. I think maybe 130 or 40 Bogle Brothers scholars, including a few other things. And I'm having lunch, I believe, with 11 of you today, and I certainly look forward to that. The change from those ancient days, dare I say ancient, is astonishing. Then Martial Field was just a thicket. Bogle Hall, named in honor of my parents, wasn't even a gleam in our eyes. Memorial Hall, which became Timken Library in 2006, had not been built. There was no Mason and no Freeman, and Hoffman Infirmary, named in honor of J. Brooks Hoffman, the most distinguished board chairman, without any comparison in Blair's history, a career physician who served, I think, almost full time to save Blair from oblivion, really. It got very bad in the 1962-1978 era. He's with us today, the class of 1936, Dr. Hoffman, and I try and talk to him as frequently as I can. Nor did this hall, Vanguard, or I should say Armstrong Hipkins, exist until 1998, nor Annie Hall nearly a few years later. And the small gymnasium, all those years ago, remained pretty much the same. We added a pool somewhere along the way until its recent rebuilding is the lovely Hardwick Hall. And in those days, one other thing that's changed, we were all boys. No girls here, and co-education did not return to Blair. We were co-educational for decades and decades after our founding, but did not return to Blair until in 1971. I joined the Board of Trustees in 1972, and in 1986, Brooks Hoffman and his successor, George Jenkins, 32, class of 32, visited me and offered me the board chairmanship. I knew the task would be formidable and demanding, especially for someone who was at the same time trying hard to build Vanguard, that then tiny firm, investment firm I founded less than a decade earlier. But I've always, for whatever it's worth, loved the challenges that have long odds. I've reveled in the thrill of leadership, and above all, I really love the opportunity, as I said at the beginning, to leave anything I touch better than when I found it. In 1988, then Headmaster Jim Kelly said he decided to step down from his 12-year headmastership. And I'd been around business and since 1972 around Blair long enough to know almost intuitively that our choice of his successor would be the most important decision of my watch. And I threw myself into the joy of leading, with joy and optimism and hope, leading the task to find the next headmaster. Good stories there, I can only tell you a few, but in 1989 we found our candidate in Chandler Hardwick, and we found what we were looking for, and much, much more. Leadership, intelligence, commitment, personal warmth, love of learning, involvement with students, concerns for teachers, charm, and above all, youth. He was 34 years old when I first met him. Talk about that in a minute, it's kind of a funny story. He came with yet another bonus, as all of you I hope know, his wonderful wife Moni, and they had the courage and tenacity to join with him in the mission to lead Blair to a new plateau. There's a history of Blair written by Arthur Hamlin, class of 1929, and it's called Blair Academy, a Sesquicentennial History, 1998, and he talked about that partnership as he ended his book. There should be no worries, Arthur Hamlin wrote, about the future, with the team of Jack Bogle and Chan Hardwick shaping Blair's destiny into the next century. No worries? Whoa! He must have been dreaming or smoking or something. We were struggling a lot then. We had too much student attrition, too low quality in the student body, too small an endowment fund. When I came on the board at first in 1972, it was around $900,000, which we had to borrow from every summer to pay the bills until the tuition payments came in September. And even then, when Chan joined us, Chan and Moni joined us, we were up about, I think, around 20 million, still too small. And now it's about 70, I think, give or take 70 million. And the bane of all schools everywhere, deferred maintenance. What that means is things that have to be upgraded, those projects have to wait until we can find future money. So it was a challenge, a real challenge, to get to where we wanted to be. It was very, very difficult. And so I come here today, in part to remind you that these two fine leaders, Chan and Moni, that have dedicated their careers, heck, really their lives, to our school, and yes, to all of you here today. It's been an honor for me to serve with them, and I've just reveled in their commitment to do the job that has been done here at Blair Academy. On the subject of how time flies, I hope Chan won't object to my telling this story, but it's sort of a fun note. The Bogles had this wonderful friendship with Chan and Moni Hardwick ever since we met them all those years ago, 1989. And we periodically, they're periodically nice enough to come down to our home in suburban Philadelphia for dinner, as they did last Saturday night, as it happened. And we learned during the day, somehow, don't kill me, Chan, that it was Chan's 60th birthday. And he was a little funny about that. But it occurred to me, and this is how time flies in this world, it occurred to me that the age of 60 is the age I was in 1989 when I made the Hardwicks the offer to come here to Blair Academy. It also occurs to me that in 1989, probably not a single student here in the room was yet in existence. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess, or something. Let me say now in closing, really, maybe a long closing, a few words about Blair's continuing challenge. The task we have here is really large. The task we put on ourselves, the educators here, all of whom are with you today, and their leaders, the Hardwicks at the moment, for a little while longer. It's to preserve, as I like to express it, to preserve and to protect and to defend this fount of liberal education that we have here, this island of opportunity, and this community that you all live in of teaching and learning. Blair Academy, the goal is, I think, to give each of you, I hope you know this because you are, among the most promising young men and women in our land. You have opportunities to learn, the way I put it, is opportunities to learn more than you might otherwise have learned, to accomplish more than you might otherwise have accomplished, to develop your character and your values more than you otherwise might have developed them. And if these seem like unremarkable goals, as I've said many, many times, I can assure you they are anything but. This doesn't have to be some sweeping change in the order of the world. It's working to make a little bit better all the time, each one of us. You citizens of the United States are the core, particularly you well-educated young citizens with all your promise, are the core of our society and our civilization. I don't want to place too many burdens on you here, but you are in fact our hope for years to come. In this era, it occurs to me, of teaching to the test, something that's pretty pervasive in public education today, as if teaching to the test was all that education is about. Blair does offer something very special. Only a real education in history and values and our cherished English language, but without ignoring reading, writing, and arithmetic, as it is said, to say nothing of in the modern era of computers and technology. But that's not enough. In a recent New York Times essay, David Brooks, I hope, by the way, you get in the habit of reading his column. I think he writes 3 times a week, but very much worth keeping in touch with David Brooks, a man of very broad thinking and a wonderful source of ideas and inspiration. And David Brooks put it very well. Highly educated young people are tutored, taught, and monitored in all aspects of their lives, except the most important, which is character building. Without character and courage, nothing else lasts. Without character and courage, nothing else lasts. So I hope you're all enjoying here at Blair the rare, I think rare, opportunity to develop both courage and character. Let me close with a quotation. But I want to begin by reminding you, that it is Chan and Moni Hardwick who have led this quest to make Blair what it is today, with great support from your teachers and administrators, to build Blair to what you are today, in fact. Never, please never, take it for granted. On this subject, I close with these few words from Howard Johnson, former president of Mass Institute of Technology. Foresight is the central ethic of leadership to protect an institution. What are the requirements that are necessary to make that institution work? First is a sense of purpose and objective. Second is the talent to manage the process for reaching new objectives. And finally, we need people who care about the institution. A deep sense of caring for the institution is requisite for its success. This institution, I'm talking here, he was talking in general, Dean Johnson, but here I'm talking about Blair Academy. This institution must be the object of intense human care and cultivation, even when it slips and stumbles, as we have and as we will, all on my watch. It must be cared for, and the burden must be borne by all who work for it, all who own it, all who are served by it, that's you, all who govern it, that's the Board of Trustees. Every responsible person must care, and care deeply, about the institutions that touch their lives. I hope you will take that caring message with you. So please care, just care about Blair and the community that you come here to join, to study and to learn. And as you go on to college and on to your career and in the long years of your lives that will follow that, continue to care. Continue to care always. Thank you all, and may God bless all of you in our school. Thank you.